Are you a business leader who feels, well, trapped by your own success? You're working harder than ever, but the business just isn't growing the way it should? If that sounds familiar, this is for you. We're going to break down how you can go from being the indispensable hero of your company to becoming the strategic architect of its future. Let's dive in. The reality for small and medium businesses is it's brutal. Just look at the stats. Only 5 out of every 10, that's half, make it past the first 5 years. The stakes couldn't be higher. And it's so easy to blame the market or the economy, but the real reason for failure, so often, it's actually inside the company. It's the leader. And this internal problem, it creates something known as the golden cage. It's this crazy paradox where the very success you've built becomes your own personal prison. You're the engine, you're the number one problem solver, you're the hero. But you're also completely trapped in a cycle of endless work that is, believe it or not, holding your business back. Okay, so let's really dig into this idea in our first section, the golden cage. We're going to look at this paradox of growth, where a leader's relentless effort, the very thing that built the business in the first place, ironically becomes the biggest roadblock to its future. So every leader who's trapped in this cage faces a fundamental choice. There are 2 paths. On one side, you've got the hero, the indispensable engine who, with the best of intentions, eventually becomes the company's biggest bottleneck. And on the other side, the architect, a strategic designer who steps back to build a self-sufficient system that can actually thrive without them. The path you choose, it's going to define everything. All right, so that leads us right into our second section where we're going to dissect this hero archetype. And it is so crucial to understand this. This is not a personality flaw. We're not saying you're a bad person. It's a broken operating model, a way of managing that creates dependency and has a really high hidden cost. Does any of this sound painfully familiar? The hero is fighting a war on 2 fronts. Operationally, the company just hits a wall. It stagnates. Every single important decision has to go through you, so your team just becomes reactive, always waiting for your next command. And then there's the emotional pain, chronic burnout, this growing resentment that nobody else gets it, and eventually losing sight of that dream that made you start this thing in the first place.
And this is the mantra that locks the cage from the inside. The core belief of every hero is some version of, if I don't do it myself, it won't get done right. That single thought justifies every intervention. It reinforces your team's dependency, and it keeps you, the leader, completely trapped.
What the hero doesn't realize is that all their nonstop action is creating a specific kind of enemy inside the business: waste. In lean management, there's this fantastic concept called muda. It's a Japanese term for any activity that eats up resources, your time, your money, your team's talent, without adding a single ounce of value for your customer. And what's wild is that the hero's own fears literally become a factory for this waste. That fear of losing control? It creates the muda of waiting, where your team is just sitting on their hands, paralyzed, until you give the okay. The fear of being replaced? That leads to the muda of defects. Because without clear systems, mistakes get made, and guess what? You have to jump in and fix them. And that deep down fear of being unnecessary? That creates the muda of unused talent. Because your team never gets a chance to grow. You're always solving the problems for them. And this waste isn't just an inconvenience. It has a devastating financial impact. It hits the bottom line hard. In one case study of a project run by a hero leader, all the rework and delays led to a final profit margin of negative 12.65%. I mean, think about that. The company literally paid money to do the work. But, and this is a huge but, that devastating waste, it also represents a massive opportunity. The flip side of that loss is the potential for incredible gain. By getting rid of the muda created by that hero model, one analysis showed it was possible to get a 59.32% reduction in the cycle time of a key process. The potential for improvement is just enormous. So how do we escape the cage? How do we actually do it? Well, this brings us to section 3, and the birth of the architect leader. This is the big shift. It's about going from doing the work to designing the system that does the work. It's about building a machine that gives you predictable results, freeing you up to think about the future. Now, there is a critical difference here for the architect. It's the difference between abdicating and systemically delegating. See, the hero tries to delegate by letting go and praying. They just toss a task over the wall without any real framework.
The architect, on the other hand, transfers real authority, but they do it inside a secure, well-designed system. They trust the process, not just blind faith in a person.
The key tool to make this happen is the PNI, or the Protocol of Non-Intervention. Now, this isn't just some dusty operations manual. Think of it as an organizational design mechanism. It's a decision-making system that makes the firefighter leader totally unnecessary because it's designed to prevent the fires from ever starting. So a solid PNI has 6 core parts. It kicks off with a clear trigger that activates it. It assigns an owner who has the authority to act. That owner follows a preset decision flow, but they're protected by non-negotiable standards that act as a safety net. When they succeed, there's an automatic reward. And the leader? You use an audit valve to check on the system's health, not to micromanage the people inside it. Now, when you put systems like this into place, something really powerful happens. You create this incredible virtuous cycle. You start to repair what's known as the emotional salary, all those non-monetary rewards like autonomy, purpose, recognition that truly motivate people. And a team with a high emotional salary, they take ownership, they get rid of waste all by themselves. And that leads directly to much, much better financial results. And this all leads us to our final section, building your legacy. Because in the end, the choice between being a hero and an architect isn't just about your day-to-day operations. It's about the long-term value and the legacy that you're going to create. I mean, look at the difference. It couldn't be more clear. The hero's whole focus is on reacting to problems. The architect's is on preventing them. The hero's value to the company is their own personal intervention. The architect's value is the system they create. And the final result? The hero builds a high-stress job for themselves, that golden cage. The architect builds a valuable asset that works for them. Okay, so let's make this really personal. I want you to think about your last week at work. How many decisions did you make that really, truly should have been made by someone else on your team? Be honest with yourself. And how about bottlenecks? How many processes in your company completely grind to a halt if they don't get your stamp of approval within 24 hours? That number is a direct measure of how dependent your company is on you. Here's a tough one. What was the last great idea for an improvement that was actually put into action in your company that wasn't your idea? If you're struggling to think of one, that's a huge sign that your team's talent is being wasted. And now for the ultimate test. If you were to completely disconnect for 3 months, no email, no phone calls, nothing, what would happen? Would your business grow? Would it just maintain? Or would it collapse? Your answer to that question tells you everything about whether you've built a real asset or just a job for yourself. So the choice is yours. And it really does define everything. The hero earns a salary. The architect builds a legacy. Which one are you going to be?